Alrighty, welcome into the Whatcom County Football Podcast. It is episode, 42, Tyler?
42.
Jackie Robinson, Tyler Anderson from Whatcom Preps, Ryland Spencer from Cascadia Preps. We've got a special guest with us tonight, Tyler. It is head coach Nick Lucey from Squalicum High School. Coach, how we doing?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's a Friday night. We're recording this on October 9th. No football right now in Whatcom County. What's it like having a Friday night off in the fall, and what does a typical Friday night look like for you right now?
First off, it's a little weird. I mean, Friday night in the fall for me has always been, like kind of this sacred experience. And now, let's see what happened. We had a little school today, hanging out with, got 3 kids, got 2 2-year-old twins and a 4-year-old. So, lots of Legos today, lots of reading, lots of, I got my 2-year-old twins and we call them like the cuddle puddle, and lots of cuddling and watching shows that are going to make my brain turn into mush. But I can't complain about that. So just got the girls to bed and I'm fired up to be able to talk a little football with you guys.
Do you know who you would have been playing tonight? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I want to say it would have been, Archbishop Murphy, I think. I follow that in my mind, and I'll text the coaches and say, you guys would have loved this Thursday practice. I think I just rerun something 30 times.
With you mentioned a couple of kids. Have you shown them, back when you were younger, when you were in the movies as Teen Wolf? Just kidding.
I got to be careful to date myself here. All right, I start talking about like Top Gun or heck, even like Dumb and Dumber, man. And yeah,
you're in my wheelhouse there, Coach. How old are you?
I am 40.
You are 40. So you are, well, Tyler, you're older than that, yeah?
Yeah, I'm 41.
Yeah, and I'm 37. I'll be 38. So I'm the young one here, I guess. Although you wouldn't know it by the way I walk.
Greenhorn.
Coach, you spent some time over in Denmark coaching, correct?
Yeah, after I GA'd at Washington State, I kind of on a weird whim was looking around, and at the suggestion of Sheldon Cross, he said, "Hey, why don't you check Europe?" And yeah, okay. And I get a weird call at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning from a guy over there, and ended up going over there, and it was probably like the best thing that could have happened. So I was over there for 4 months before I got a job at a D2 school in New Mexico, but it was a really neat experience.
Is there anything from your time there that you still kind of hold on to today that you kind of learned anything over there?
You know what? So I went over there, and you hear it's semi-pro football, and there's all different levels of football over there. I mean, there's stuff that's like, got former players from the NFL Europe and all the way down to, what would probably be considered like low-level high school. So I think I'm going over and I'm going to coach something that's like comparable to maybe college. And when you get there, you realize that you've got some good players, but you really have to like break it down into basics. Your coaches or other players there. So it really brought me back down to earth, especially coming out of like coaching college and GA at Washington State, and, getting caught up and, we're going to do all of this and this and this. And it comes back to basics and, being able to teach it. And because they take English so literal, I have a lot of like stupid coaching phrases. They just look at me like a dog with their head turned sideways. But, I took that away. It was just a fun experience. We had practice twice a week. Other than that, I had a gym membership. The team was, about the greatest group of guys, and I still keep in touch with them. And the guy who was the GM / our center in a pinch, if I really needed to bring him out of retirement, is one of my really good friends. He came over for my wedding, and it was just a neat experience. And kind of in line with that, some people are a little averse to playing in February, understandably, but sitting there going, shoot, that's what we did there. And it got warmer as the season went, and the first practice I got there, it was like it was midnight. It was dark. The field was covered in snow, and I'm sitting there going, where the hell am I? So,
oh, that's awesome. Hey, Coach. You got hired at Squalicum for the 2014 season, but before that, and you were looking for probably a head coaching job. What did you know about Squalicum coming in? Did you know anything about them at all, or even where they were located or anything like that?
I'm off the top of my head, I think I made I'd heard of Squalicum. I knew Bellingham and Seaholm were up here, and Squalicum was was the newer school, and that I think came online right about like maybe what you're right after your senior year, maybe you're right around then.
Yeah, 98.
Okay, so I'd known about it, but when I was up at Simon Fraser, I had coached with a guy in the spring there, who I stayed in touch with after that. And when at the end of the season, after Simon Fraser and staff got let go, and I started looking, I just gotten married, and I decided I want to go teach and coach high school ball and do that. And he's like, hey, you got to apply here to Squalicum. So I ended up actually meeting really early on with Patrick Brown, our AD, and we hit it off and ended up having to wait a couple months. But I didn't know a lot about Squalicum before that. And then when that came up, I was able to dig in a bit. And the more I looked, the more I was like, yeah, this is a great situation. And I love this area up here. I was just on the wrong side of the border. I love Bellingham.
That's awesome. You mentioned Patrick Brown. I've been able to deal with a lot of ADs in the county, and they've all been very great to me. But Patrick, there's something about Patrick Brown. He's so he'll help you with anything you need at any time. He's just such a great AD. I mean, what are your experiences? I can imagine they're only fantastic.
I consider him a really good friend. I think he's a great administrator, especially when and maybe I'm partial because he has a football background. So I think sometimes it takes an understanding of everything that goes into football, because it does require resources compared to say maybe basketball or some other sports. And he's just been nothing but supportive. I kind of think of him I refer to him as the GM of our team, because and I try to get him out coaching, and there's a thing in our district where you can't be, an AD and coach, but he's just a phenomenal guy and has really, made this job. I think about what a good job I have here. And I think a large part that's, due to him and the culture he's been able to create with parents and players, and the support that I've been able to have from him has just been, I can't imagine it with. You hear some other people telling stories about ADs, and a job can really hinge on that.
Right. Yeah.
Tyler, what do you say? Lightning round right now?
I think it sounds good.
Normally with the lightning round, we would wait a little bit for it, but we've got some names on here that we want to talk about a little bit more than we normally would with guys that are in the lightning round. So what we're going to do, Coach, is ask you, I'm going to throw a name at you. It'll be 5 different names right in a row. Just kind of give us your first, say, 5-second thought on each guy. All right.
Okay. 5 seconds. All right.
Christian Jorgensen.
Oh man. That was like a video game, being able to, call a pass play with him. And, you got a bunch of really good receivers out there, but special quarterback, great arm. I was really blessed to come into that situation.
Doug Groves.
Oh my gosh. Where do you even go with that? Doug is a freaking dude. Doug will bring his dog. I mean, Doug and Bruno's his dog. Doug and Bruno are inseparable.
Yep.
All right, Tyler, you've come out to practice.
Oh yeah.
You've seen Bruno, and because now we have a turf field, I get an email from somebody in maintenance every time that dog comes out. But he's part of our team, and Doug has just been like one of the best things that's happened to our program. I dang near got to put him in pads sometimes because he's so fired up. But he's a hell of an O-line coach, a great dude. Doug's a character. He's a great one, though.
Reed Richardson.
Oh, man. Reed has been a guy that I have really, since I got in the building, it's a different situation coming in, just in this, he had been a head coach, and it really speaks to how much character he has and what kind of a guy he is, to be able to, from day one, I was able to go talk to him and, pick his brain. And we really grew a friendship over the years. And then, 2 years ago, we had an opening, and I had kind of in my mind been, you always are thinking a year or two out. And since we've been able to bring him on our staff, he's just been a tremendous addition. He's got so much great background. He's really good with the kids. And you can't say enough about having another guy that's been a head coach and understand what all goes into it. And that's been a lot of fun the last 2 years. So I'm not letting him out after 2 more years when his son graduates.
Ben Peterson.
Where do you start with that one? I was listening to a deal today. He's a captain for the Air Force Navy game this weekend, and I was listening to the head coach Troy Calhoun's interview. And I mean, what do you say about that kid? awesome player, never came off the dang field, but just even with all that, he was an even better leader and person and teammate. There's so many little things he did that just went unnoticed and, were overshadowed by his exploits on the field. But long story short, man, everybody loved that kid.
Last one, and it's going to lead into a little bit of, we're going to talk about this young man for a little bit. Javenski Schlenbaker.
Oh man.
Who's that? Who's that?
Feed the stud. That when you say it in my brain right now, is feed the stud. It's call power, call counter, call. No, we've been really blessed to have some good players here. I mean, like really blessed. I walked into Christian Jorgensen and Ben Peterson, Josiah Westbrook, and just a whole good crew. But Ben is another just really special kid. And you start off with, I mean, he's a lot like Ben Peterson in the sense that he's a great kid. He's a team player, and you don't want to tackle him. But,
I don't think you can. Not too many people can tackle him, man. When you think about Peterson, do you, at the collegiate level, having coached college and recruited at college, do you see him more on offense or on defense?
For Javenski?
Yeah.
I see him as a running back. Now, I'd say this, and this is more speaking of his this is more just speaking of, I think, his ability. I think he could he could play either side of the ball. I think he's a running back, but I think he's, athletic enough that you look like in the NFL. A lot of guys that play were either ex-quarterbacks or ex-running backs at different positions. But I mean, I think at the college level, he's a running back, and just last year we saw was scratching the surface as a sophomore. It's amazing to see how raw he was. And I say that in the sense of just, understanding how to read a play. Like, sure, like on the diagram where the arrow goes, but just him being able to be coachable and understanding our schemes. And, you talk to him about, hey, now you want to be slow too fast through and feel this backside linebacker. When he flows over, you want to bang it in the back door. And all of a sudden, a week later, you see it. And, there's something to be said too for a kid that's physically, been able to run around and through kids for, he's been bigger in general. And, you got to, it says something to his ability to learn and just have everything besides just the physical tool set. So we're excited to see him run in February.
Yeah, I think you're on to, like, I don't think a lot of people understand the idea that, typically the kids that are like just so much bigger and more physical, faster, whatever it is, growing up, they still got to learn the game, because once you get to high school, everybody else is going to catch up to you, or not so much catch up to you, but start to catch up to you. And so while you had that huge gap before, maybe it's not there. And I think especially it happens more often than not. I think it happens with linemen, where you have a kid that was, 6'5" as a 7th grader or something, and they're easily just throwing kids around, and then they get up to high school and it's a little tougher. When you first saw Javenski, what was kind of your first impression of him?
So the first time I saw him, kind of going in line with what we were saying, I'm pretty sure it's the first time. I mean, he lives like maybe 2-3 miles from the school. He had an older brother that was a senior my first year. So anyway, so I'd heard about Javenski. I mean, he's a well-known kid. He's well-known. He's a heck of a football player for a while. But gosh, maybe it would have been like his 7th grade year. We're driving around. It's early August, and you're starting to get the edge for football to get going. We're going by Bellingham High School, and we see a team practicing out there. And I see a kid that looks like a high school kid, undoubtedly looks like a high school kid. And I'm like, what are they doing out practicing right now? And we drive by, and it's his youth football team. They practice that, and I'm like, oh, that must be Javenski.
That must be him.
So, yeah, but I mean, he's a good looking rascal in pads, and and I'd imagine a little bit quite the task for defense. I wouldn't want to tackle him.
No, and I think the thing that is most impressive about him when you watch him run is his patience. I mean, he looks like Le'Veon Bell, kind of the way that he runs. Sometimes he's almost got like his hand on his offensive guard's back, and as soon as that guard gets a hold of somebody, he puts his foot in the ground and goes somewhere else. I mentioned it on a couple of podcasts earlier in the year. I saw you guys play Ferndale this year, and I went down into the end zone because I wanted to see it with my own eye.
Yeah.
I want to see it from the backside. And And I watched it, and I'm watching, and all of a sudden he's gone for a second, and I'm like, okay, well, he must have got caught in the wash. And next thing you know, I hear the crowd going nuts, and I'm going, well, where the heck is he? And he had taken a hop to the right and was gone. And it was like, whoa, like what happened there? Like, as a guy who I've watched a lot of football from that specific spot, because that's where my Seahawks seats are. So I've watched a lot of games from that specific spot. And all of a sudden you just see him, he takes a step to his right, and you just think, oh, he got caught up there. Like there wasn't anything there. And next, bam, he's gone. It's unbelievable. But yeah, no, you got a tremendous, not only athlete, but a tremendous young man. I know he's got really good grades. And did you, when you start thinking about Squalicum, and you guys have had some good players. You mentioned some good players over the years. You've now got a guy, though, that is getting some major Division I offers. As a coach, do you take a lot of pride in stuff like that?
I look at it this way. He's a phenomenal kid, and I think it's indicative of what a great kid he is. He's obviously, got some things that, you can't teach, like some tools and, and like size and speed, but he really is. He's a phenomenal kid. He's a hard worker. He's got good grades, but he has had to work for that too. Some kids, school comes easy to, and he's, like in math, he's had to, put the, oh my gosh, trying to think what the term I'm looking for is, but like, he's really had to put the sweat in the bucket and work at that to get an A. And that to me says so much about, I can understand what it's like to work. And for a kid that's been so successful, a lot of things he does, particularly sports wise, but, also in school, but for him to, go there and maybe not have the success that he wanted right away, and then be able to work at that in football season, it tells you like, okay, this kid's a full package. And when you have a kid that takes care of business in the classroom like that, you're going to have something really special on the field.
Tyler?
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to go back a few years, Coach, if that's okay. There was a game, I want to say it might have been 2016, and against Emerald Ridge, where I believe at one point you guys had the running clock on them. You had a huge lead, and then they started scoring like crazy. At the end of the game, the score was 68-55, and that game had a running clock at one point. What do you remember about that game? That was just one of the wildest games I've ever seen.
I think that makes up some of my gray hair here. I think that makes up some of my gray hair. A lot of it. Oh boy, that year we were really good. We could score really fast. And yeah, we got up. I don't know if it's 40. It must have been 40-0 in the first half. Or we got it. We had a running clock at the start of the second half, and I kind of try to. I like to think that out of adversity and out of you need to take things away from it. And that was like we went to the second half, and I said, okay, we got Ferndale in 2 weeks, and we're healthy right now. We can get our backups in right now. And that was, I've learned my lesson. No matter what, year one, stay in. The first offensive and defensive drive of the game. We got a little ahead of ourselves there, but oh my word, I want to say they got back like 3 onside kicks.
Right. Yeah.
And luckily Jack Wendling returned one for a touchdown.
Right. Yeah. It was crazy.
An onside kick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You don't see that too often. In all the games I've been to, I've seen it probably like 3 times, and 2 of them were in the state championship game last year for 8-man football. I mean, oh my God, you just don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually, that's the only time we've ever put like our starting group back in the fourth quarter too, because we've got a little like within 4, you're just like, oh my God, it's just one of those games that had a kind of a bad taste in your mouth. But
it was just so bizarre. I mean, I wasn't there. I watched the film, and I'm trying to take stats, Coach, and that's all I was doing. I mean, I ran out of pencils. And then now I'm going to ask you, Ryland, really quickly. You've seen a lot of high school football, and I'm just talking 11-man football. What's the highest scoring game you ever seen live that you can think of?
It was probably Sumner. And this is kind of funny because it's the same thing. Sumner versus Puyallup, like 4 years ago. Sumner got up big, but they never got a running clock going. And so they were up like 37. Yeah. And Keith Ross, the head coach at Sumner, who's been there forever, and he's an awesome dude, he kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit. And Puyallup had a high-powered offense. This is Puyallup had quite a few down years, and all of a sudden they were back, and they were playing real good football one year. And so they start coming back. Well, then Sumner puts the foot back on the gas. Next, it's back up to like a 37, 38-point game. And then next, it's like a, 21-point game. And then it's back up. And it's like back and forth. And after the game, Keith Ross comes to me, and I said, "Hey, Coach," I said, "Oh, kind of a wild game there." He goes, I didn't run it up on him. And I said, "Coach, you never got to a running clock." And he goes, "I know, but we put up like 700 yards of offense." I said, "I know, but they kept throwing the ball too." He goes, "I know, we just couldn't stop them." He goes, "But I'm okay, right? Like nobody should be mad at me, right?" And I said, "No, why would anybody be mad at you?" But it was one of those games. I think the final score was like 70 to it was something crazy. It was like 70 to 48 or something like that. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Well, I have to bring this one up, Coach, and you probably know where I'm going on this. A couple years ago at Civic Stadium, it was the first game of a doubleheader. I was there for the first half. Final score 85-70 against South Delta. I don't know if that will ever get broken as far as high scoring. What do you remember about that one, Coach?
Yeah, not an 11-man anyways. Oh my word. I think I still have nightmares about that quarterback.
Yeah.
He was
great.
a dang good player. And we were a little thin on the D-line, and we couldn't get that son of a gun down for the life of us. Yeah. But we had that year, we had a pretty good O-line, and Tristan Smith was our running back.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't remember, Jalik Martin had a hell of a catch, and he got it into the end zone. And we were able just to kind of keep our foot on the gas. They got tired. And it was still a game. That was the craziest thing about it. You talk about, we got to 85, but we are 83 or whatever, but we had to be able to keep them at arm's length, because that son of a gun. This kid is like maybe, I don't know, 6'2", 205. We couldn't tackle him. He's running around all day, and it looked like, like backyard, Thanksgiving, whatever, 7-on-7 football.
Was he also a linebacker on that team?
I think he was.
Was it Grant? I wonder if it was Grant McDonald. He was a kid that played for them. Ended up having some Division I offers. Like one of the few kids I've ever seen out of that area. Obviously there was Chase Claypool. I'm sure you remember him. Went to Notre Dame, and then there was a young man, Coach. It might have been when you were at Simon Fraser. There was a young man. I want to say his last name was like Whitley or something like that. That played at like West Vancouver. He was a tight end, and he was like 6'6".
Oh yes.
And I think he ended up going to a junior college, and then he was Boise State. I can't remember where he went, but he ended up going somewhere big, and that's pretty crazy. When you think back on your time at Simon Fraser, what was like the biggest challenge at Simon Fraser? Because I've known a lot of the coaching staffs from there, and obviously I knew you when you were there with Coach Wiley and a couple of those other guys. And dude, that guy's a nut. But the thing that's always kind of hard, and this is one of those interesting things, you mentioned the Delta game. Typically our teams in the state of Washington, I say our teams like we own them, but our teams here in the state of Washington, typically when they play the teams across the border, it's not real good for the Canadian teams. Because like it's just totally different up there. The guys are thinking about hockey and lacrosse way more than they're thinking about playing high school football. But what was kind of the biggest challenge for you guys, as far as recruiting? So let's say that for Simon Fraser.
So when I got up there, I had come from Western New Mexico, which was like not in a real desirable area, kind of far away from things. And anyway, long story short, we get to Simon Fraser, and you're sitting there going, we might be in like about the most beautiful city in North America. We're up on a hill. I don't know where the football stadium is, but no, but other than that, I thought, hey, we had some things we could really recruit to, and we did. And man, Thomas Ford really had it going and doing a great job recruiting. And now things are on hold. But from my standpoint, when we were there were a couple things that kind of hamstrung us and presented challenges. One was up there. Well, I should say, because we're playing NCAA football, we needed like a certain caliber of player. And like when you're talking like Division II football, you might be giving out, a quarter, a third, whatever the heck type of scholarship. Well, a kid out of Canada might be, not quite as well developed or, as far along as, some other players down in Washington or somewhere in the U.S. So we get outspent though by the Canadian teams, because that kid might be like a half ride or a 3/4 ride down there, up in Canada.
Yep.
And the other piece was the NCAA division. I don't know that it was the draw. I hoped it would be more of a draw. And I think Thomas Ford was really able to capitalize on that. But with those players, being, how would I say it? So we kind of got caught in that. And then the challenge down here, and I think Thomas Ford really broke through on that, was, getting guys to consider coming up. For whatever reason, it was, I'm still not sure about going to Canada. There were some things. I mean, it's a great university. It's a beautiful school.
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. Yeah, right there. I mean, that's
you guys had one or two on campus, right?
Yeah, we had that, and then they put in a Starbucks. I was in hog heaven, but I mean, it was a great place, and I was only there for 10 months, but I believe they put a little more money into recruiting, which helped. And I know, I think they've got great talent up on campus this year. And Thomas had recruited a couple of our kids. We got 2 kids up there now, and they just, they had offers from Central too, and the kids just loved them, fell in love with the staff, and wanted to go up there.
Yeah, I know they've done a lot of renovations to the locker room. They're building a whole new football stadium up there on the hill, which you're 100% right. I mean, when you're standing up there on the hill and you're kind of, I can't remember what the name of the area is, where you're kind of over the driveway there, and you can see downtown Vancouver and everything. And, then you turn around and the mountains are right there. And, you look another way and, Mount Baker's over that way. And I've always thought it was just an unbelievably underrated school. And then it's a great academic school too. I know the business program is incredibly good up there. And so before that, you were at a Division II, another Division II, right? Is that what Western New Mexico was?
Yeah.
And then obviously overseas, you spent some time at Wazoo. Not exactly the greatest years to be at Wazoo during Paul Wolf time. But before that, were you with your dad at Curtis, or was that with Clay Angle?
So I started off with my dad, my first year coaching in what would have been 2002. And then when I went to WSU, I was on staff with Bob Wallen at Pullman High School for 3 years.
Oh, another great coach, state championship coach. And so I guess we can use both those guys, because both those guys are tremendous coaches and very well respected. Obviously, your dad, 4-time state champion at Curtis High School. What are some things that he taught you that you still use to this day? Anything?
Oh my God! For my dad, there's just so much about as being being a man, how to treat people, how to go about doing things. I think my dad just has so much integrity, and there's lots of times when you come into situations where you can elect to go different ways. Say just dealing with a student, and it's easy to maybe overlook a situation, or and I just think for my dad, so much of that was black and white. And I know where some other people might prioritize wins and the things to that nature. My dad, prioritized doing things the right way, because he was an adamant believer that if you can do things the right way, it's gonna turn out the way that it should, and you're gonna have better results overall.
Tyler?
Yeah, Coach, your offense, I always find it a lot of fun to watch from the sidelines, from the stands, on film. Is that kind of your baby, or do you maneuver it around the athletes that you have?
I mean, I am like a beg, steal, borrow. I haven't invented a dang thing we do. But I just coming to high school, it kind of said, okay, we want to have something we really identify with, and a power run game, so run a power encounter. And I fell in love with kind of, the sniffer offense, the Y off, and felt like we had a lot of versatility. We can convince one lineman that he's a running back, and he'll play tight end for us. And yeah, sure, you're a running back. Okay, you're just an offensive lineman, a yard off. But no, it's given us a lot of versatility, and it's been fun. Like you've seen, like with Spencer, from Christian, who can just throw the snot out of it, and Mason to Spencer Lloyd, who is just a dynamite runner. We've been able to adapt things, and we've learned a lot and kind of developed as we've gone along. And it's not unlike the wing T and the gun, but it has been fun to kind of see how it develops over the years.
Yeah, it's so much fun to watch, and I love seeing the guy in motion, and then seeing the guards, and then seeing the play action and everything happening. And it's like, if you can catch those kids for 1 second on the defense flat footed, and you got Spencer Lloyd running up the middle and no one even knows who has the ball, it's a brilliant offense. I'm going to bring up, there's, when we talked last August, I guess it was, I came out to practice and I didn't know what to expect, but I remembered that class, your senior class that you had when they were sophomores. It seemed like you just had so many of them playing. And then all of a sudden you bring up a Mason Lloyd, a Sky Alton, Brandon Powers, Jimmy Mina, Devontae Powell, Colin McEachran, and Jalik Martin, all these guys who are potential all-league, all-state kind of guys, and none of them were available to you this year because of injuries or transfers or what have you, but you still were able to get to the state playoffs. I mean, what kind of team was that last year? It seemed like is a team that really rallied together.
Yeah, that was, every team has its own story, its own, each season is kind of like its own, I don't know how to say it, but journey. And, we definitely had kind of an off season where we find out that Colin's unable to play because of a medical thing. And then our kickers, our all-league kickers / really good receiver safeties, Spencer's little brother blows out his ACL in the spring. And, you just get different news. And so it was really nice to get to the season. It was really neat to see that team. Once we got to the season, we were able to eliminate the outside distraction and focus in on us playing. It was cool to see the growth and cool to see like, hey, this is us. It's all about the people here. It's not about anybody else. And what was really huge, and that was going down to Redmond, and we were, we weren't a real deep team, and we got gassed. But playing Redmond down there, we had just a great win. You look back, probably one of those first games, we got a lot to clean up, but just so neat to see our kids compete. And I think when they got that first taste of, okay, this is, and that really set the tone. And we kind of got our noses kicked in by Arlington and Marysville Pilchuck the next 2 weeks. But man, that team came together, and it could have been at a point where it would have been easy to point some fingers and look around and get real selfish. And we call it BCD, blame, complain, get defensive. And they just bear down, man. We went out and ran off like a 7-game winning streak. And the thing to me, I always try to evaluate a season on is, did we get better throughout the season? Was there steady, consistent development? Because that indicates hopefully there's a coaching staff, we're doing our job. The players are obviously doing theirs, and they're bought into what it is, that as far as we talk about a team that we're trying to sell. And that team absolutely did. It's so much fun when you get to, mid-October, late October, and a team's playing well, and you really feel like you're starting to ride that wave. So I couldn't be more complimentary about that crew. And we had a good young, what will be senior class this year, guys like Mason Binning that came in and was just a cool customer and made us so much better.
Coach, let's talk about this team coming up now. Obviously, you guys lose some quality players, some real quality players, especially on the offensive line with a Brandon Gimsey and a Ben Paz and Adam McCluskey was you mentioned it earlier. Actually, those three right there, all three guys going to play Division II football. When you start talking about replacing those guys and some of the other guys on your squad, who are some of the players maybe that we don't know about yet? Obviously, we've already talked about Javensky Schlenbaker. You mentioned Mason Binning, the quarterback. Who are some of the other guys that, listeners, I guess I say listeners, but they could be watching this too. If you are watching it, I feel bad for you. Maybe you've just got it on and you're just listening in the background. But who are some of the guys that listeners, watchers, whatever they are, viewers should know about going forward for in the spring?
Well, we've actually got, you're right. We lose 4 starting offensive linemen, which is a task to replace, but that's high school football. And, we got coming back on the line, Bryson Lamb, who started every game in the O-line for us, did a great job as a sophomore, and also was an outstanding outside linebacker for us. So really excited about his growth. I think he's going to be a great player when it's all said and done. And then we got Jaden Raymond's another offensive lineman that played a lot and allowed us to move Brandon Gimsey over to that kind of our extra heavy tight end tackle when we got in our unbalanced package. But we got some young guys really excited to step in. Dane Parker, Jacob Watt, who played some D-line for us last year, and we're hoping he'll probably be our center this year. But it's one of the fun things about high school ball is you always see different guys step up. And at the 2A level, the great thing is a kid that's 185 pounds can come in and play O-line for you.
I'm glad you mentioned 2A, Coach. Obviously, you guys moved back down to 2A after being in 3A for a few years. Are you excited to get back to 2A and kind of being maybe a little more local in a way than you had been?
Yeah, we are. It's the Wesco is a great conference. We had nothing but good experiences there. But I mean, there's something to be said. This is, we're playing teams that are really in the area that historically we've had rivals with. When we're playing Stanwood, when we're playing, Marysville, Getchell, just we have our team, our community has no connection with that community. So, I think you'll probably see Civic Field and a little more alive on Friday nights because you're going to see teams that are closer and people coming. But you're also going to be able to see our people instead of when you have to drive an hour away. That's a little bit of a haul on a Friday night. So The Northwest Conference is a great league with a great history. It's a darn tough conference. I know a lot of people think, dropping down a conference, it's going to be, or dropping down a division is going to be easier. And I don't think it gets any easier at all. It's a great conference, and that schedule is a bear.
Yeah, I mean, take it from a guy who's on the seating committee for both levels of play. I think you guys are stepping maybe even into a tougher conference than you were, and now you've got Linden, and you've got is Archbishop Murphy part of this also?
Yeah.
So that's that's never an easy task with those guys, and I think it's the right place for you guys though. So I'm excited about it. Tyler, do you got anything else?
No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, I'm excited about what you guys were just talking about. It's cool to see Coach Lucey and the Squalicum Storm going to be playing against some more Whatcom County teams. Going against you mentioned Linden, but also the Seahomes and the Blaine actually Blaine's going back to 1A. But then you had like the non-conference games against Linden Christian scheduled. I mean, there's never been a Squalicum Linden Christian game ever.
Really?
And so stuff like that is really cool for me to see these Whatcom County teams go against each other, and I was really excited about it. So I'm hoping that things will stay the way they are. I'm really, really excited about it.
Tyler only likes that because it's one less game to watch over the weekend for him, as opposed to you guys going to see. Because then when you're going and playing, like you mentioned, a Marysville Getchell, he doesn't know anything about those guys, so he doesn't care. I mean, now myself, I like hearing Tyler talk about those teams because then he goes, that number 44 for the other team was actually pretty good. And I'm going, Tyler, he's one of the best running backs in the state.
Right.
Coach, before we let you go, I want to ask you one question. We've asked the previous two head coaches that we did this with, Blake Van Dalen and Ron Lepper, if you could go back and replay one game that you've coached as a head coach so far while at Squalicum, what one game would you go back and do again if you could?
Oh, man. Are you thinking like a do-over game, like a game that was close that you would go back and alter the course of history?
Tumwater game from your first year, maybe that one. I don't know which one.
Ooh.
Maybe it's a state playoff game. Maybe it's not a state playoff game. I don't know. You
know what? The one game I would probably go back and do was 4 years ago this year. It would have been the Bonnie Lake game in 2016.
Yeah.
What about that game, Coach?
There were some outside distractions that week. It was the week of the election 4 years ago, and we had some players that had a discipline issue that week. And it was one of those things where that team was really good. And I don't know that we peaked early, but there's something to be said for having some adversity during the season and then building off of that like that. My first year with Christian Jorgensen, we lose to Linden, we lose to Cedro, and then all of a sudden we get going on a good streak and we hit the playoffs in stride, and you're really kind of starting to peak at that time. And I don't think I did a great job that season of really trying to feel that momentum and really, and really ramp it up towards the end there. Because we played a dang good Bonnie Lake team. They had some good guys. They're well coached by Coach Silba. But this was one of those games you'd like to go back. It was relatively close. I want to say it was maybe a touchdown or 2 touchdowns at the end. And we just had a couple of things happen that, happen in close games and big games. And I think I could have done a better job preparing us and doing all the things to get ready for that game.
Tyler, anything else?
Yeah, I just got one more thing to add. Coach, I don't know if you're going to remember this one, but this just popped in my head. So a few years ago, you guys are playing at home against Ferndale. I want to say 3 years ago or so. It was one of those high-scoring games. I think it was like a 49-42 game or something that you guys came out on top of. It was pretty much for the conference championship, the North. And with about a minute to go, and it's still about, it's a close game. It's a touchdown game. And I'm on the sidelines taking pictures, and you come up to me and put your arm around me, and you're just looking at me going, don't you just love high school football? And I just thought, this coach is in the middle of the game. The game's not over yet. And I just felt your energy and your passion. And I just smiled and I said, you're right, coach. And I just thought, man, this guy gets it. It's what it's all about, is just the passion, the love for it. And I'll always remember that. And just thank you for letting me roam the sidelines and do my thing and let me come out to practice and stuff. It's just been a lot of fun. So thank you very much for that.
You are always welcome, and you are a fixture. And I can't say how much we appreciate you guys. Just first and foremost, you guys do a great job, and it's great for people to have something. When I first got here, we had the newspaper was good. It was like really good coverage, and it just, for our kids, it's unfortunate to see that. Yeah, and the reasons it happened, or it happens because newspapers are going the way of the dinosaur. But you guys have kept that alive and given families something to listen to and really get into high school football. And you've kind of provided a spotlight for our programs, and we appreciate the heck out of it, man.
Coach, have you watched any of the virtual season that Tyler's had going?
I have. I'll lay in bed with my little man at night, and we'll put the game on and watch a little bit of it. And
that's funny.
I'll yell at the offensive coordinator for calling a bad play.
All right, Coach. Well, we're going to let you get going. Tyler Anderson, WhatcomPreps.com. If you want to check out the 2020 virtual season, upper left corner of the screen, you can find it. History of Whatcom County High School Football. I got it right.
You got it right.
On Facebook, you can search it, find it. I'm Ryland Spencer from Cascadia Preps. I almost said Whatcom Preps. From Cascadia Preps. Coach Nick Lucey, thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you guys.